Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Bienvenue at Tennis Weekly Journal. Bonsoir, Alina. We are back for another episode of Tennis Weekly brought to you by Property Hub Invest. Joel and Kim did the full pod yesterday, the round one recap, and we are here for your podcast postcard from Paris. Firstly, I have something to raise. Yesterday, they did highlight just how wrong I was on the Medvedev result. I had him going deep here, knocking out Novak Djokovic and making it to his furthest run at Roland-Garros. That didn't happen. We were there for that one. And it looked like I was definitely wrong. Then I might have been right. And then I was wrong.
We were wrong again.
I really was. Did you see that one coming? The twist at the end?
I was actually happy to see that he's digging himself out of the many traps set by Cameron Norrie. And then, no.
It didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
We could not believe that. I thought at least it would be a tiebreaker, a champion's tiebreak to finish it. It didn't even make it to that one. So predictions are not going well for me.
Let's see. It ain't over till it's
not
over.
over. But until then, we can take you behind the scenes.
Our Roland-Garros coverage is brought to you by Property Hub Invest.
If you're looking to build a successful property portfolio without the stress of going it alone, Property Hub Invest could be exactly what you need.
With over 13 years of experience and trusted by the Sunday Times as weekly property columnists, the team behind Property Hub Invest have helped thousands of investors build hands-off, high-performing portfolios.
They source buy-to-let opportunities you won't find anywhere else, complete with exclusive investor discounts, then guide you through every step so you can invest with confidence and grow your wealth the smart way.
So if you're serious about property, head to propertyhub.net/start to take your first step.
That's propertyhub.net/start.
The link is in the description. One of the things that did happen, we did promise that you promised, Alina, that you'd be going to the Monfils evening match. Did you end up going, and did you see him run into the flower bed, really?
Well, we didn't end up going.
We were otherwise occupied.
In
In the media room, of course. We have to clarify, we were still working.
But I did see that big slam onto the screens. And
3 points in, was it?
It was 4 points
4
in. It was like
points.
first couple of minutes. And I just could see the terror on the public's face because it looked like a retirement. Little did we know.
1 a.m.
1 a.m.
Gael Monfils is coming to press.
The showman himself has made yet another night to remember, Chatrier night session.
And it's history, you told me.
And it's history.
40th match?
His 40th victory.
Wow. At his 18th Roland-Garros.
Yes.
Goodness. So that equals the victories of Yannick Noah. So tomorrow, when he plays Jack Draper, he could be going or attempting to go one better. We will preview that a little bit later, but we will take you through some of the more interesting, more intricate storylines that maybe don't make the main pod. And the first one was our experience watching Novak Djokovic on Philippe Chatrier getting wet with the crowd whilst we're on a court with a roof.
How is that happening? I heard the crowd singing the French anthem. We heard them singing players' name. I never heard them singing the roof.
They did. That was the new chant, the roof. They were calling for it because if you're on Chatrier, you're not going to bring necessarily all the equipment you need for a rainy day because you've bought a ticket with a roof. And
so it was the guarantee of not being rained on at a Djokovic match on Philippe Chatrier.
It's your rain insurance policy. And it didn't seem like it was going to work out for them because the roof was not closed for quite some time.
It took a couple of minutes, and it seemed like tough negotiations. At some point, we were just like, does somebody want the roof? Somebody doesn't want the roof? Like, what is going on?
Well, Djokovic played hardball. He's the 24-time major champion. He had to really sort of question things and kind of get supervisors to come down because he couldn't understand it. But Alina, you were pretty much spot on. I think he wanted it shut before it started because why wait to close it? And he will tell us in Novak Djokovic style exactly what went on without sparing a single detail.
No, I was just asking, if if and when they are going to make a decision to close the roof, and how long we will have to play. That was my first question, how long we are going to play under that rain, because it was quite pouring rain out there on the court, and it was affecting the court as well. Court became quite damp and a lot of bad bounces, etc. And the first information I got from chair umpires that that they decided to wait, and so I asked who is they and where are they, and then he said that it's supervisors and others that are deciding to leave it open. And I said, can I just speak to them and can they come and see it, because it's quite different from the office or stands and actually being on the court. So that's all basically what was to it. Then I just asked whether there's a difference, because they're anywhere going to, if they decide to close the roof, they're going to make us play. So as we were playing while the roof was closing. So I said, what difference does it make to close it now comparing to, say, in 15 minutes or whatever it is? So that was, McDonald was also complaining about that, when I broke his serve at 3-2, then he asked the supervisor, why aren't you closing it now? And he said, let's wait for another game. So it was quite confusing because on the radar, apparently they were not seeing, they were seeing that he's going to stop, but it didn't look like stopping. So anyway, I just, and then at one point, supervisor told me, but they're playing everywhere on the outside courts in the same conditions. And I say, yeah, but we are on the court with the roof. So, it's also, why do you have the roof then? What's the point? You know what I mean? So that's all basically. In the end, they closed the roof, which I think most of the stadium wanted. If I understood well in French, they were singing to asking basically for roof to be closed. And I think it was better for everyone, for the players, for the stands as well.
So it was the crowd and Djokovic, and then eventually Mackenzie McDonald against the umpire and the supervisor. Is that right?
It appears so. It appears that it is taking a bit of convincing to shut the roof on Chatrier.
Because of the weather forecast, because I think we have to talk weather because that's what Brits love to do, Alina. I'm sure you know that by now, having spent so much time with me. But the weather forecast was not looking that promising this week. It was a lot of rain, and we've been in Paris in rain. We've talked about that already. We've been drenched. We've been...
The Drench Open
cold to the bone. Yes, the Drench Open. This is not the Drench Open, but we thought it might be a repeat. It hasn't been.
It hasn't been.
The weather forecast said it was going to be.
But the weather has been fussy. So, of course, I can trust that.
It's a bit up and down, so close the roof.
They can see on the forecast when the showers are coming. But can you fight with the 15,000?
No, you can't. But at the same time, it did actually...
Or Novak Djokovic.
It did rain pretty heavily. So either way, the roof was closed and Novak Djokovic did make it through. But probably that was the most interesting part of that match because we're trying to figure out. And one was up, one was down. The mystery is solved. The roof was closed. My theory is that they don't have that or that much more advanced systems than we do because for us, it said it was going to rain and it did rain. I would have closed the roof. But hang on, it's not my decision. Despite that, it did seem like things have been smoothed over with Novak Djokovic because you told me he's already won a couple of things.
Yes, it seemed like he was already awarded a few silverware pieces by Mauresmo.
He's a winner. What's he a winner of?
Well, he got honored for 100 titles.
It's a great honor.
It's a beautiful plate.
Oh, yes.
And he also got a small cup for his 24 titles.
And this year he got that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What was more interesting was his comment in regards to that offer that he already won. He doesn't need to play anymore. To which Mauresmo said, no. We need you to play.
We need to sell tickets.
For the real thing.
So when I saw that, I thought he'd been given both the runner-up and the winner's trophy. But
it looked like it. It looked like miniatures of the
it
runner-up.
did. I thought
and
surely
winner.
you get one of those when you win it. And
Do you think
commemorating...
they repurposed it?
Maybe they made one extra. Or maybe the winner will go without this year. We'll have to see. But either way, it feels like such a big deal was made out of Nadal in the last few days that they thought...
Because Nadal got a fixture on Chatrier.
Yes, and listeners, it is a permanent fixture. Of course it was. We should have realised.
Yes, and probably you have seen the social media videos with the ball kids.
Everyone's getting close.
Just getting close and touching the monument.
It's fantastic. And I love when they like swish of the brush and they clean it. And then the players have been going over. And our mission, Alina, we're going to get as close as we can with the pass and the access that we have and your French.
That has to bring us something.
It's got to bring us something. It got you onto a court earlier today where you shouldn't have been, where they were watering the court to take a picture. So that's access we didn't think we would get. We've not made it past somewhere we shouldn't have so far.
But you can do stuff with French.
You can. If you speak the language, it goes a long way here. But someone else who's looking to get their hands on some silverware is Jack Draper. He managed to make it through, and we've heard all about that with Joel and Kim. But what you haven't heard is what he was telling us in the press room. And this was a match where we were courtside, and for our listeners, the media area is opposite, like the Royal Box. You're right on top of all of the player boxes, which is fantastic to see such a close reaction. But you're also perfectly centered for the match. So fantastic seat. You could really see all of the different drop shots, all the variety that was coming from Bellucci in that match. And you said before that, this was not going to be easy, a clay quarter versus a non-clay quarter. And you were right.
Yeah, it was a tricky one, but I did enjoy the show. It was so great to see him come through all that, but also to have like quite a good clay opponent, so he can also get all that confidence from getting this victory.
Exactly, and that was actually something we asked him in press afterwards about his clay season and about getting a win here, how important that first win is, and we can listen to what Jack said.
Jack, you've had a great clay season this year, your best clay season that you've had so far. How important was it for you to get a win here to back up the results you've had this year in your top 5 status now?
Yeah, definitely important. Yeah, I feel like last year, I'm obviously a different player now in many ways, but I think, I didn't really get my foot off the ground. I lost 3 7-6s in the third. I've always enjoyed the clay. I've always liked the clay. I've always thought that my game suits it. Maybe this year a bit physically better and confidence and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I know I haven't won a match here, but I'm coming here wanting to go deep in the tournament. And I have the confidence and I have the belief that I can do that. So obviously winning a match feels good, but my goals are much higher than that. So although it feels great, I'm really focused on hopefully going as deep as I can here.
So he's not satisfied with just beating, a clay quarter in round 1, Alina. He wants to make a deep run here.
He has bigger goals.
He does have bigger goals, but we're going to take a quick break now, but do join us in the second half of our Day 4 Journal, brought to you by Property Hub Invest, where we will be talking the question that left Iga stumped in press, Coco on forgetting her rackets but remembering her custom New Balance jacket, and we preview our picks for Day 5, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Tennis Weekly Journal, brought to you by Property Hub Invest. Now we've got to talk Coco. We've talked a lot about the fits, a lot about the outfits that have been out there. We were not particularly complimentary of Yannick Sinner's in particular. We did like the Nike women's outfits. Coco rocked a pretty spectacular New Balance jacket. You said to me, they're doing it properly. The detail is present, and it was present for Coco Gauff, wasn't it?
The leather jacket, it did remind us of a Serena entrance.
Very Serena coded, isn't it? I think a lot of the New Balance stuff is kind of a tribute to Serena. Some of the yellow outfits are very reminiscent of what Serena's worn at Australian Opens past, that's for sure. But also leather jackets, it is a thing here in Paris. It really is. It's very like a cool girl aesthetic.
It gives an edge. She only has that walk from the lockers to the bench to make a difference and use fashion for bringing up her personality. So I think that was really coming through. And what can you wear that is very non-sporty? A leather jacket.
It is definitely not something you'd want to run about in on a warm day in Paris. So it's good it's for the walkout and not to play in. And we can hear the story about how that leather jacket came about now from Coco.
Yeah, honestly, I ain't gonna lie, that was all into New Balance. I didn't really know I was wearing I knew the kit that I was wearing because we tried on, obviously. But they gave me the leather jacket, and I saw it this week, and I was like, oh, wow, that's fire. I've talked to them how I always wanted to spice up my own, like, walk-on outfits just because I feel like you can do a lot because you're not playing. So we've talked about doing a leather jacket, and we talked about doing other stuff that I don't want to say because in case we actually do it. So, I was pleasantly surprised with it. But yeah, I think it's cool. I feel like it matches like the Parisian vibe here, and it just makes me feel super powerful going onto the court.
And one thing we have got to mention, she forgot her rackets, Alina. Have you ever seen this before?
Actually, yes. Not from Coco, but Tiafoe also stepped on court without
Did
his
he?
rackets.
What happened in that one? The team had to go and retrieve them.
I think his coach or somebody in his team just walked on the court with the rackets.
Goodness,
So,
you think all the detail they put in preparation and then you forget a racket.
well, I think the mind is not with the rackets or with your bag. I think that's somebody else's job. If
It
you
is
ask
someone else's
me.
job. That is not your responsibility.
it
That's why
does-
you have a team.
But it does reflect interestingly upon you while you're like just going into your bag and there's no
Well,
rackets and all the cameras are on you and everybody expects you to play.
Yeah, and she found the funny side of it, and that was the opening question that she faced in press, of course.
First round matches at Grand Slams tend to be quite tough, especially with no rackets on court.
Yes.
How did you turn that around?
Yeah, well, the most important thing is to play with the racket. So that was getting through the first step. And then after that, maybe it probably relaxed me going into the match because this is just such a funny thing. So I'm just happy to get through today, and I'll remember my rackets for next time.
Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll update you if she remembers the rackets for next time. I'm pretty sure that she will. I also have something to say about Coco Gauff. I was inspired by her passion for, she loves a fruit box, a fruit salad in the Tupperware. I did purchase them yesterday. I had it on Philippe Chatrier today, Aline. And
So
it was,
that's where you got the idea from.
Yeah.
'Cause I thought it was a bit peculiar. Like
I
usually,
don't normally go for that, no.
no, you would have a more Chatrier like
Chocolate
a
mousse.
chocolate mousse, but a fruit salad. Like I think something is wearing off on you. Like
Yeah, and I'm also wearing a leather jacket, so maybe this has become a bit of a tribute
you're
act here.
entering in your Coco
My
Gauff
Coco
era.
era. Oh, goodness. Well, an era that I would like to exit pretty quickly might be my era of questioning Iga Swiatek, because I didn't quite get the answer I was expecting, or maybe I'd say hoping for. I mean, we've seen and we've given tribute to some of the great fun that Iga's had with journalists this week. I said she's been on fire. Maybe we should have a trigger warning for our listeners. If you don't like uncomfortable silences, then probably skip the next 1 to 2 minutes of the podcast before we go into our preview of day 5.
Iga, you saved every break point you faced today. How significant is that statistic to you, and how do you go about assessing your performance after a match?
Honestly, yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah. I don't know. Well, I'm just happy that my serve is working, and even if the first one is not in, I know I have my second serve, which is pretty good. Weren't these break points only like in one game or something?
I think is it 2 games?
Okay, well, I saved them, so I'm happy. I don't know. Sorry. But, yeah, whatever. Sorry. Couldn't come up with anything.
Well, did you break Iga?
I feel like I need to turn her off and on again.
It was an interesting reflection, non-reflection.
Yeah, but also
like-
she knew that her serve was good, so I don't know what went on there, but I'm very pleased. I'm not sure you could pick it up on the audio, but she did actually ask me, was it like in one game? And I watched the entire match, every single point, and then I fact-checked afterwards, and thank goodness it was not all in one game. So I did say the right thing. It was in a couple of games. So that, for me, is a big...
It's a
sign-
personal win.
Yes, it's a personal win,
It was
yes.
a healthy question coming from a healthy
Healthy place
observation.
and a healthy observation and a positive thing to save those points. So I will keep working on questions that don't involve any form of stat. I think that's out the window for us, and I'll just go on vibes and feelings tomorrow, Alina. How do you feel about that?
Well, yeah, we need to become the modern journalism.
A modern journalistic approach.
It's
Are you
very
saying
old school.
Old school. I've gone a bit old
ask about
school.
stats.
I also like line judges, so maybe I'm part Coco, part traditionalist, and we can see how we do with that. Playing tomorrow is Coco Gauff, and she's not on Philippe Chatrier. She's on Susan London tomorrow, and someone else who's on Susan London is Novak Djokovic, who's making a rare trip there, along with Corentin Moutet. And apparently, the last time Djokovic played on there is many years ago now. So that's very surprising. Also on London, we have a French player playing against Kasatkina. That's Jean-Jean.
Léolia Jean-Jean.
Yes, beautiful name, beautifully said.
We heard her playing on an outside court from Chatrier.
Much louder than Chatrier. It was so loud. So that's going to get very loud on Susan Long. And then we also have Arthur Fils, who's not made it, I believe, yet to Chatrier. He played his opening match also on Long. Well, I think that's probably because of all the retiring players, because Richard Gasquet is playing Yannick Sinner. So the reason why Novak got bumped is because Gasquet and Sinner, how could you put them anywhere else? It's final Roland-Garros. It's the world number one. That is prime time, you would think. But then you have the magician playing against Jack Draper, and that is almost his slot. Monfils loves it that late, right?
And the crowd loves Monfils that late. He's the entertainer.
As much as they can get, the French public are going to try and get. So that is the night match. Filling in the rest of the session, we have Jessica Pegula opening against Anne Lee. I'm not sure Chatrier is going to be full for that one. So I do hope they let people in, because we want to see people supporting JPEG. We're big fans of her here. And then we have another match that I'm really excited to see, which is Maddie Keys versus Katie
Bolter.
Yes. So we've done this a bit differently, but I would love to know, who will you be watching tomorrow? And will we be watching them together, or will we be splitting up?
Ooh. Well, as I mentioned, I have not seen Corentin Moutet this year. and
you'd like to be reunited with him?
I like to see him every now and then, just to be reminded of the character he is.
It's a different tennis experience, not one
and then not watch him for another 9 months.
You can't follow him week by week. That would not be fun for anybody. It'd be too much.
He's well enjoyed in small doses.
Yes.
Like,
I've been told that
fine
before,
essences.
Alina. Yeah. I think that's a fun one, especially seeing Djokovic on a smaller court. I think that would be a fantastic match to watch.
I will join you for Madison Keys and Katie Bolter.
Katie Bolter, exactly. I think that's going to be a great one. And we have to try and get a spot for Sinner versus Gasquet. I believe there's going to be a ceremony. We've got to make sure we see it. And I think probably the ceremony might be happening tomorrow, based on the form that we saw Yannick Sinner in before. So that's who we're going to be seeing. There are other matches. They're still scheduling Fonseca on outside courts because his ranking doesn't warrant a bigger court. He's on 14. That's a very vibey court. He's playing against a Frenchman, so that will be interesting.
There was a queue at court number 7.
And people from Chatrier were watching it on the balcony. So
it was the main attraction. So I imagine now playing court 14 against a French player is just going to be...
So they will be getting behind...
The pit is going to be on fire again.
It will be on fire. And hopefully we might be able to catch a glimpse. Cool. But we will be back for a full podcast tomorrow. And our final journal will be the day after that. So you won't have to miss us yet. And you are still getting your daily dose of Tennis Weekly, brought to you by Property Hub Invest, live from Roland-Garros. But for now, Alina, it's au revoir from you.
Au revoir.
And it's au revoir from me. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on Tennis Weekly.